Imagine a world where a simple breakfast, bread, fruit, coffee, is no longer guaranteed. This is a possibility that concerns not just one country or community, but the entire planet. Our global food systems are under tremendous pressure, facing a web of challenges that often go unnoticed in daily conversations. Today, we're uncovering the unspoken issues that threaten the very foundation of how we grow, distribute, and consume food. Food systems connect everything from farms and aquatic harvests to our supermarket shelves and kitchen tables. They are more than just pathways for produce. They drive economies, sustain billions, and influence environmental health. Yet critical stresses, many that fly under the radar, jeopardize our present and future food security. Let's begin with a factor that operates silently but with profound impact: soil health. Fertile soil forms the bedrock of productive agriculture. However, decades of intensive farming have left soils depleted, eroded, and less able to support crops. Excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, once hailed as miracles of the Green Revolution, is now causing long-term damage, lowering yields, and polluting water sources. Desertification, the transformation of fertile land into desert, spreads quietly, often out of the public eye, but affects millions, especially in vulnerable regions. Next, think of water. Fresh water is the lifeblood of all food systems. Yet today, water scarcity affects more than 2 billion people. Agriculture consumes about 70% of global freshwater resources, and unsustainable irrigation practices are draining rivers and aquifers. With climate change accelerating, droughts become harsher, rainfall patterns grow unpredictable, and the balance needed for healthy crops becomes harder to achieve. But climate change isn't only about water. The world's farmers, fishers, and pastoral communities face shifting seasons, new pests, and increased frequency of extreme weather events. Every storm, flood, or heat wave impacts yields, destroys infrastructure, and sends ripple effects down the food supply chain. Some of the world's staple crops, rice, wheat, and maize, are already experiencing slower growth due to rising average temperatures. Globalization transformed food systems, creating a network that can move strawberries from Chile to London and coffee beans from Ethiopia to Tokyo. But this tightly interconnected chain is also fragile. Disruptions, whether from pandemics, natural disasters, political conflicts, or trade restrictions, can ripple across continents. Recent years have seen supply chain breakdowns causing empty shelves in wealthy cities and actual food shortages in vulnerable regions. For every truckload of food successfully delivered, much is lost along the way. Food loss and waste is another silent threat. Roughly 1/3 of all food produced is never eaten. In developing countries, loss happens primarily during production and transportation due to inadequate infrastructure. In wealthy nations, food waste piles up at the retail and household level. This not only wastes resources, but also intensifies hunger and environmental harm. When food decomposes in landfills, it emits methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide. Meanwhile, there are powerful but often invisible social and economic forces at play. Smallholder farmers produce about 1/3 of the world's food, yet many struggle with poverty, lack of access to modern technology, and limited bargaining power. Discrimination based on gender, ethnicity, or land rights further compounds their vulnerability. Global markets often favor large-scale producers, squeezing out local, sustainable operations. Another rising concern comes from corporate consolidation, the concentration of food system power into the hands of a few giant companies. These corporations control seeds, fertilizers, and distribution networks, dictating what is grown, how it's marketed, and at what price. Such concentration can stifle innovation, reduce biodiversity, and leave both farmers and consumers with fewer choices. The loss of biodiversity poses its own unique danger. For centuries, humans cultivated thousands of varieties of crops and livestock. Today, more than half of the world's calories come from just 3 crops: rice, wheat, and maize. Relying on such a narrow base is risky. Disease or pest outbreaks can devastate entire harvests. Meanwhile, loss of pollinators, like bees and butterflies, further destabilizes ecosystems necessary for food production. Dietary shifts also influence food system vulnerabilities. Traditional, nutrient-rich diets give way to highly processed foods, contributing to global health crises, including obesity, diabetes, and malnutrition. The paradox is stark. While billions struggle to afford enough food, millions consume too many calories of poor nutritional quality. Let's not overlook geopolitical instability. Conflicts disrupt food production, displace communities, and cut off access to humanitarian aid. Even low-level tensions can drive up food prices and spark disputes over land and resources. In a globalized world, these shocks affect everyone. Shortages and price spikes in one region can quickly reach others. So, what can we do about these unspoken threats? First, raising awareness is key. Understanding that issues like soil degradation, water scarcity, and food waste affect us all is the first step in building a more resilient food system. Supporting sustainable farming practices, reducing unnecessary food waste at home, and encouraging policies that protect small producers can all make a measurable difference. Technology can also help, from satellite monitoring of drought and disease to new crop varieties that can thrive under changing conditions. Investing in local food systems empowers communities to feed themselves and reduces dependency on fragile global supply chains. Most importantly, fostering collaboration between governments, businesses, scientists, and citizens is essential for meaningful change. As we enjoy our next meal, it's worth reflecting on the collaborative effort behind every bite and the silent challenges threatening this system. Building awareness and taking action today is not just about protecting our food supply. It's about safeguarding livelihoods, ecosystems, and the well-being of generations to come. The issues threatening global food systems may be unspoken, but they are not unsolvable. Together, through knowledge, action, and empathy, we can create a future where everyone has access to reliable, nutritious food grown in harmony with our planet.